that's here, anybody who's on Zoom, and whoever's gonna watch this. Our first order of business is our regular meeting. First order of business will be pledge allegiance to the flag, and like everyone to join us.
We just start recording too.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
It's to the cloud, Brian, right?
Start the video and unmute it.
Back to the class. There we go.
Recording in progress.
All that? Okay, agenda review, does anybody have anything to add?
Mr. Chair, if I could, the agenda that we're working off from is slightly different. Inadvertently, the police chief's report was left off, the agenda that went out. And then you'll notice over on the second page, we can do that liquor control, liquor license renewal deal this evening.
Any of the board members have anything
Just at the end, I'd like to add just a discussion on funding.
on funding?
Yeah.
Funding what, anything specific or just funding?
Trying to look at some sources of funding for the new building that they're talking about.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, we'll have for any other necessary business that we fit under there, yeah. Any other board members got anything? All right, then, move on to meeting topics. So the first one will be the minutes for April 18th, our regular meeting, and April 24th, a special select board meeting where we approved the bid for paving to Pike Industries. And I see there was some changes made to that from the original one sent out.
Yes,
Okay.
I made the changes that you asked.
Okay.
I move that we accept the minutes as read, Mr. Chairman,
Both
on
of them.
both.
Okay.
April 18th, 2023, regular Zoom Select Board meeting, April 24th, 2023, special Select Board meeting for paving bid.
Second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded. Is there any more discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Is there any public comments that are not part of the agenda? Okay. And I guess we'll move on to the Swanton Health Officer's report. It's in the packet.
Yeah.
I did want to add that in future reports, if we can get some kind of photographs or something to go along with the report, just so we have a visual of what we're looking at.
Okay, probably not something that's been done in the past, but it might not be such a bad idea in a situation like this.
Yeah, I mean, probably situational, but
And you haven't heard anything back yet? She hasn't?
No. Although it looks like it's starting to get a little cleaner around there. Yeah, she had the question as to if she had heard it was in protected wetlands, but it's not.
It's not.
I looked on the maps and it's not.
Well, I expect we'll be hearing more in our next meeting about this.
That was the property owner or Amber had questions?
Amber had questions on that issue.
Okay, so by our next meeting, we should have some kind of an update.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody else have any comments on, the questions about the health report, county health report?
I'm glad they're moving on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, then we can move on to the chief's report.
Good evening, sir. Says hi. From UVM, please. Pete Chapman.
Thank you, Steve.
Let's hope the name's on there.
All right, so for April, there were 63 incidents total, 16 traffic stops with 6 tickets issued, 12 warnings, 2 arrests out of those traffic stops, and then 5 arrest charges total. If you look at the 10 most common incident types, there are 19 directed patrol, 16 traffic stop, 3 suspicious persons, 3 citizen disputes, 3 agencies assist, 3 threatening, 2 community outreach, 2 crashes with damage, 2 DLS, which are related to the 2 arrests, and then 2 responses to alarms. In response to Select Board Member Henley's question last time regarding documenting patrol, I did speak with the officers, Sergeant Gagne specifically, and he had mentioned that he apparently they had some sort of system maybe many years ago that didn't last very long, so what I have asked them to do is punch directed patrol cards. It may take some time to get them to do that. You'll see, I think that's why the number is so high, so that in the report itself it's going to reflect the areas that they're patrolling. But it's a matter of getting them to actually follow through and actually take the time to punch it so it's documented in the CAD RMS system. Which takes a little bit of paperwork effort, so hopefully going forward we'll see more of that so that you can actually see and report exactly where they're patrolling.
Thank you.
And then there was some, so in going through this, you'll see that I spent some time looking at, as far as the ticket report goes, where it's not generating, if an officer is engaged in a traffic stop and they issue multiple, let's say they issue a ticket and 1 warning associated with that traffic stop, the ticket may be reflected, but the warning is not. For whatever reason, the CAD RMS system is not pulling that data. So I had to go in manually and look at each one of these incidents where there wasn't an outcome and then document what that outcome was. And that may just be the way the system is set up as far as pulling the data out of it. And then there were a few that were left blank that I filled in when I looked at those to try to figure out exactly what those were. It was directed patrol. So for some reason, there were a few fields in the ticket field. Essentially, there's subcategories within the CAD RMS system. And if any information is populated in there, it's pulling it out in the ticket report. So that's why you'll see some of these directed patrol incidents in the ticket report itself.
May I ask a question, Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
I can't help but notice down here, you've got a ticket issued, but it says violation city San Francisco, 43rd.
So that's the operator where they're from. Again, for whatever reason, it is populating their home address.
Okay.
In that, and it was associated with, I want to say there's another,
Well, there's like Richford and stuff like that. But you said
if you look up here, so that one, 659, is in here twice. And again, I'm not sure why it separates it like this in space,
Okay.
but that operator was issued a ticket and a warning associated with that traffic stop. I think due to the speed, again, the officer picking them up at 80 and 65.
So it's just still populating the...
It's populating,
city residents.
yeah, and I don't know why the system does that, as far as when it generates the report.
Okay, thank you.
I'm assuming, Chief, that's the same thing with the one on St. Albans Road. The offense actually took, violation city, it says Richford, so same scenario.
It must be, let me
Next from
see,
the bottom.
where's the second from the bottom?
Yep.
I would have to,
Yep.
I would have to take a deeper dive into that incident, but that is my guess, is that that's where the operator is
Yep.
from, is from Richford.
Thank you.
I'm assuming that 80 and the 65, that's probably an interstate, right?
I believe so, especially due to the code ISL. Um,
I did mention to the board, our last meeting, chief, you guys must be doing your job because we aren't getting any complaints.
Really? Well, that's a good thing.
That's what we said.
Yeah, so, I mean, the guys have been working really hard, you know, we're trying to prioritize, especially as the weather
No, and it
gets
shows,
here,
because like I
getting out
said,
there and doing more traffic.
as you remember when you first came aboard there, we were getting all kinds of complaints and we were bringing them to your attention, but it's, I don't think something's changed. It hasn't for me this week. Anybody else?
No, I haven't, had any calls about policing issues, no.
Yeah, so we've aggressively been attempting to address the drug.
Thank you for a great
issues
job.
In both the town and the village.
Yep, thank you.
And the guys have been making great progress there.
That's awesome.
I'm sure that takes up a lot of your time too.
It is very labor intensive. So, but it's interesting, the nexus with some of these crimes. So, for example, in dealing with some of the people from out of state, you know, then they you know, there's one recent incident where it was directly tied to a homicide in Massachusetts. So the connections are interesting, state to state, and unfortunately there is a lot of violence associated with drug activity.
Are those folks staying in the area or just passing through when you?
They were staying in the area. I
They
mean,
were.
we've had, the individuals I'm talking about specifically were staying in the area. We picked them up associated with an incident in the village, but they were staying outside of the village and outside of the town. But ended up arresting them related to that investigation. It was actually a stolen property and with a nexus to drugs. And then they ended up pleading out to essentially, you know, dispose of the case quickly. And then subsequently, there's some information, you know, that.
And then you send them back to wherever they?
Well, they left, yeah. My understanding was they were leaving the state and going back to Massachusetts, so. But you'll see, I mean, we've encountered people from New Jersey, we've encountered people from all over larger urban areas who are coming up into rural Vermont. And obviously my area of expertise was more Burlington specific over the majority of my career. So certainly you would expect it a little more there. And I was a little surprised when I first got here of how widespread the activity is into rural northern Vermont. I mean, it's all over, you know, from here all the way over to the eastern portion of the state in northern Vermont also.
When you pick them up and they're wanted in another jurisdiction or another state, those people come and get them, or?
It is, so it's very difficult to have people extradited, actually. It's interesting, the state of Vermont wants you to compare the charge that the underlying charge from out of state, and one of the difficulties is we need to be able to get the paperwork from out of state and then compare the underlying charge with an equivalent statute in Vermont. The judge then reviews that to see if it meets the standard, and then they have a hearing. If they waive extradition, it's pretty easy, but if they fight it, it can be difficult.
Okay, thanks.
There are people outside of Swanton, here in Franklin County that I've talked to that, and I didn't think it existed to the extent it does. This issue of drugs and people coming up here and bringing them, something about Vermont that makes it very attractive for them. I'm not sure what it is, but there's got to be something there.
Right in the middle of everything. Think of it.
Well, and I think basically anywhere there is an appetite for these narcotics, they're able to make a good amount of money. And it is sad. I mean, if you think about it in more of a larger sense, as far as society goes, it is pretty sad that a lot of these people really don't have any direction. They don't have any. They haven't had much. They haven't had a family to really guide them, and they're left to their own devices, and they're just trying to survive. So I have a lot of empathy for them also. And the problem is, is all the things associated with it, all the property crime,
Yeah.
all the violence, all
Yeah.
that sort of thing that goes along with it. So it's a difficult situation and pretty sad all around.
Okay, does anybody else have any other questions for Keith?
Don't keep up the great work.
Good job.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work, Chief.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Stay safe.
Okay, now we're going to get into the Old Town business, and the first thing on here is meeting with V-Trans. And they requested this because there's some real estate issues to be done in executive session. So,
I move that we find that we enter executive session for the select board to receive confidential and contract or real estate information for which the premature disclosure of it to the general public would clearly place the select board and others at a substantial disadvantage.
I'll second that.
alright, motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? If not, then all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion's been made and seconded, Steve seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're out of executive session, the discussion
It's
basically was
6:37.
at 6:37, okay, that concerned the town, not town, the state garage. But there are some things that were discussed that we'd like to further discuss here in open session, and the biggest thing is the potential to get a scoping study done to address the issue of the Bushy Road 207 intersection. Because it's a big concern, because the town, you know, has designated that as a future growth area. And that intersection is not the safest intersection even now. And more than likely, we're gonna see more activity in that area. So, we had some talk about it. He didn't wanna commit too much without talking with the regional planning commission, so I put you on the spot.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Could you just state your name?
yeah, it's Bethany Remmers with Northwest Regional Planning Commission. You know, always willing and willing to partner with town and V-Trans to do intersection scoping studies. I don't know if Matthew, if you were thinking this would be, that NRPC would be looking in our existing work, annual work program to make that happen, or if there's other grant funds or other funding that NRPC can work with the town to seek.
I think there is other funding that the town would be able to work with our NRPC to seek for the purpose of that. So that would be in addition to your TPI program
Yeah.
as it stands right now.
Okay.
Yeah. And we would be happy to seek those funds to make sure that this is something that is copacetic to the needs of the entire region and suits your needs as the RPC and guiding the vision for the region as well as the town's vision for the growth center. So suffice to say that yes.
Oh, great, perfect. Good answer.
Can you tell me your name, please?
Matthew Arancia.
So how do we get the process started?
Well, I think the first is, you know, I imagine working with Matthew to relay, you know, the town's interested in the scoping study and putting a request into V-Trans to see what they have in their budget. And and then we would work with the town and V-Trans on developing a scope of work, getting an engineer on board, and, you know, getting that process started.
So something in writing from the town to initiate that process, requesting a scoping study at the intersection of VT 207 and Bushy Road, submitted to Bethany. You can CC myself as well, and then Bethany and I will have a discussion about how to fit that into the RPC's work program and to move it forward from there.
Well, what's the board's pleasure? We should do this.
Absolutely.
We're gonna have to do it. It's the only way we're gonna get anything done. So I guess a motion from the board would be appropriate that we will request this scoping study. And
Are we going to appease their request of doing it parallel with them wanting to?
well, I don't know what they're working on theirs, we'll probably be working on ours. It'll be going on at the same time. I don't think they're gonna be really involved with what we're doing on the scoping study.
No, I think-
Master plan, is
Yeah.
that what you're referring to?
No,
No,
he's
he
talking about their,
Yeah.
the building itself, but I don't think that has really a lot to do with what we're gonna be doing. Even though it'll be going on at the same time, I think that's what he meant. that, you know, both things could be happening at the same time because they wanna get going.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I would entertain a motion that we make that request.
I move.
Second?
And how should that motion be made? Should we make it to request the Regional Planning Commission to begin finding out what we, you know, to push this scope and study forward, or should we direct it to the Agency of Transportation?
So I think, Matt, do you have an opinion on that? I mean,
I don't necessarily. I think whatever, you know, this is I'm pretty new to covering kind of like the local politics side of things like this, so whatever you think, whatever your suggestion is, Bethany.
so what I would suggest, you know, you passed a formal motion at your board meeting here tonight, and if Brian can email myself and Kyle Grenier at NRPC, just relaying that motion has been passed and that Swanton would like to work with NRPC on the scoping study, and then we will take it from there, distribute it to V-Trans and see what kind of response we get back and what kind of funding can be made available.
Okay, I know the Department of Transportation is in a real hurry to get this project started and done. We're in a real hurry to. So, you know, I mean, can this be expedited some way where we get into a position where we know what we need and how much it's gonna cost? I don't want that to drag on for 6 or 8 months, you know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do, so a few ideas on that. One, you know, if V-Trans has the money available and we do an amendment to our existing NRPC work program to accommodate this, that can go fairly quickly, a couple weeks. NRPC, we have kind of a wide range of engineers that are pre-qualified, and we've gone through competitive procurement to get them on board. So it'd be a matter of taking that scope of work that we've developed with the town of V-Trans and, you know, putting it to a few of those pre-qualified engineers to get that quote. You know, so there's still process.
Yeah.
But that will quicken it a little bit as opposed to, you know, doing a full request for proposals.
And on the V-Trans side, that administrative amendment, or excuse me, that contract amendment literally comes to me. So, you know, since I cover NRPC, any of these kind of contract or grant agreement, you know, processes come through me, so it's something that I can help facilitate as part of just moving this forward as well.
And I should mention that I mentioned Kyle Grenier, he's our new transportation planner at NRPC, and so he's on the line, and he's allowing us, we have more capacity now, and so this will be something that he'll be working on to get that engineer on board.
All right, so then that motion would, that we're gonna request this scoping study for that Butcher Road in 207, and we're gonna direct this request to the Regional Planning Commission.
Yep.
All right, now the motion's been made by Ed,
Second by Steve.
seconded by Steve. Is there any more discussion?
On that, no, but do we need a motion to make the formal request for the speed study?
I wouldn't even waste our time, to be honest with you, Nicole, because that's not gonna amount to nothing.
Perfect.
It's just gonna tell us how fast people drive there and whether we wanna change the speed limit. That's not the issue. I don't think. So, all right, that's it for discussion? Okay, then all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, the motion carried. More work.
Okay, is this where we make the motion to have our attorney look at the pros and cons of an easement versus continued ownership?
I don't think we would probably need that since.
Well, I guess we wanna make sure it gets done, yeah, we wanna get this set up pretty quick, so maybe a motion would make sure that it gets done.
Yeah.
We don't wanna drop it either.
No, because it's probably a very minimal difference.
Yeah,
But I think we should know what it is.
I agree, because it's gonna be a long-term thing
Yep.
for the town, you know, so
You know,
I won't be around when it's all done.
okay, you want to make a motion, Mr. Chair? That would.
Yes.
Okay, I'd make a motion that we enlist the services of our town attorney to weigh in and give us the pros and cons of ownership of the road versus an easement. And so we can make our final decision in lieu of what the state's asking for.
I second that.
All right, that motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on that? Okay, then all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, that motion carried too. So, you can go home. Kathy, you can stay if you want.
Thank you, everybody, it was very nice.
Thank you for coming out.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for the information.
Feel free to
Yeah.
contact with me. Thank you for your time.
Now, we got the other people here, so we're gonna go on to the update on the MBU.
Have a good night,
I
Mrs.
didn't
Monte.
recognize you when you came in, I haven't
Bird
seen you for
free,
20
and you
years.
guys can come up here if you want.
You're good, but I didn't know who you were, it's been what,
Sure.
20 years?
Probably.
Yeah, no, oh,
What's your name?
I will, always do.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Later, you too.
Good night.
Thank you.
So we are back to give an update on the sidewalk. We were here in April. And at that point, Roger had submitted the preliminary plans to V-Trans, I believe, and we were waiting for comments back. Those comments have come back, so I know the most important thing tonight is for Roger just to run a few things by you based on the comments that he got from V-Trans. And then we can talk a little bit about budget and then talk about next steps, if that works for you all.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm Roger Dickinson of Trudell Consulting Engineers, and what we got back from V-Trans, basically they circulate it around within V-Trans to all the different sections, you know, the right-of-way, the district, the highway design, and everybody gets a chance to comment on it. So we get a plan back, and basically they have their comments, you know, in red, which we address. A lot of the comments that we received are very detail-oriented type comments, easily addressed. The wording of a note, a pay item needs to be clarified. The seed mix for the reseeding the lawns, that needs to be modified a little bit. The biggest comment, I think, relates to access management. And they noted what was being proposed up at the town garage, and thought that was a positive thing. But they also wanted to see some access management at other places as well. Several of the residential driveways are a little bit too wide, or wider than the V-Trans standards, the B71 standards. There's some commercial drives that also don't meet the standard. I think the biggest comment that we received and is going to be at the Maple Fields. They identified there that their driveways are wider than their standards, V-Trans standards, and the radius on the corner is a little bit too large. You know, people are sliding in, and so they want that tightened up a little bit. So that is probably the most significant comment.
Roger, when Maple Fields went in there, did they have it in writing how wide their driveways could be? Was it?
Their driveways are presently, one is a little less than 50 feet wide, and the other is, the one closer to the interstate is a little more than 50 feet wide. The standard is 40 feet. Now, what Bethany and I talked about doing is actually requesting a copy of their original approved site plan.
That's what I said, yeah.
And, okay, I mean, if this was approved with these the way it is, it shouldn't be the town's issue to change it.
Yep.
You know, and so we're going to go down that road here.
What about the individual landowners, driveways? That is a town issue?
There's not very much change there. I think I've got, actually it's down close to the interstate. There's, first house, Colgan. Colgan and Corte. They share a common drive, basically. And that's like 26 feet wide. Well, V-Trans standard is 24. It's really not much of a change. There's some others that are probably just a little bit wider, but having a 24-foot, I don't think up closer to Thunderbird Drive, we really have an issue. I think it's mostly Colgan and Maple Fields, and those are the two.
The interstate accesses, off ramps are fine.
Well, one person was questioning.
Frontage road right there too, and.
Yeah, one person was questioning coming off the interstate southbound. The southbound off ramp, whether that was a 1-lane or a 2-lane. Now it's striped as 1 lane, but I'm sure, and as this person noted, during busy times, if somebody's turning left and somebody else comes down behind them and wants to turn right, I'm sure they just slide by.
They do.
And again, there's not too much we're gonna do about that. But they did suggest some additional signage on that ramp to make it safer, so. I think the board was concerned at the last meeting about the northbound on-ramp also, and that there wasn't any comments there from V-Trans. But that is something I do want to talk to them about a little bit.
Yeah, there's that frontage road right there too, not very far away.
So
All right.
that's where we are. I also double-checked the cost estimate, updated it a little bit with more recent information, data from the V-Trans bids that have been received in 2023. It's a sliding 3-year database that they use. So some of the older bids from 2020 dropped off. Some of the newer ones, more recent ones in 2023 get added. We came in just within $4,000 of the original, the estimate that we presented at the last meeting. So it was an increase of 2/3 of 1%.
I believe.
Yeah.
So really, it's basically the same.
But these haven't been awarded or anything yet.
I'm sorry?
These bids haven't been awarded.
Oh, no.
Just for
Oh, well, the database that their cost estimating is based on, bids that have come in, including bids that are not necessarily the low bids, okay? So they take all the bids they get and they punch it into this database, and it kicks out, tells me what the average, the median, and it gives me a predicted, based on, predicted value of cost.
How long are the bids good for, Roger? Are they 12 months or?
I'm sorry?
Some of the ones that you said are firmed up, are they good for a year or?
Well, again, every time we submitted preliminary plans to V-Trans that has a cost estimate that we send in. Our next submittal will be final plans. After you go through the preliminary, we'll have to update the cost estimate. So the cost estimate is not cast in stone. It's constantly evolving as the project progresses.
Okay, thank you.
And I think what the important point is that it's based on actual bids that were received in the last 3 years, but again, that is still in the past. And so, the town is constantly looking ahead at, this is the cost estimate based on the last 3 years, where's it gonna be when construction happens? And that's the tricky piece.
That still 2025?
I'm sorry?
Construction's still 2025?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, we've been shooting for 2024, but
I think, well, it all depends on the right-of-way.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
The right-of-way can drag on for 6 months. It can drag on for, I've seen some jobs, a year. Between getting V-Trans's approval of the right-of-way plans and then going out and actually negotiating with the landowners.
So we don't have V-Trans approval for the right-of-way plans, or right now then?
No, not yet, no. Approval of the preliminary plans basically gives us the go-ahead to prepare the right-of-way plans and draft up the deeds, the easement deeds that you need. So that's all the step, the next step.
Yeah, getting some of those large commercial users to reduce the driveway by 10 feet, that's not a small issue.
I know, I know.
That could
And
drive.
that's why we're very sensitive to that.
Yeah.
Particularly since we're going to be going to them and asking for easements.
Yeah,
You know, I don't wanna
got your work
We
cut out
wanna-
for you.
deal with that very
Now,
carefully.
if this easement thing drags on and on, that's gonna mean more money for it.
Well, there's two ways, the right-of-way process with the landowners, you can, they can actually voluntarily donate the easements, but they also have the right to request compensation. And in which case we would.
Well, I ain't worried about their compensation, I'm worried about paying you
Oh.
to get all this stuff done if it drags on and on.
Oh, well, that actually, preparing the right-of-way plans is in our contract.
Yep.
Negotiations with the landowners is something that,
So that's on me as
and you folks,
NPM working with the town.
we take a step back at that point. Now, if a landowner wants to change something, you know, we'll work with you. But if a landowner doesn't want to cooperate at all, and we do the evaluation, we offer them fair market compensation. If they don't cooperate, then that's up to the town to decide what to do next.
So when you say you and us are gonna be working together,
Yes,
there's gonna be some legal work to be done, right?
absolutely. So we will, once Rogers had done the right-of-way plans, he's going to quantify the exact square footage per property of where the town needs temporary easements or permanent easements. And that's all. And then we do a waiver valuation process that determines the fair value of that. That gets approved by V-Trans. But definitely your town attorney is involved in reviewing the easement deeds. And, correct?
The easement deeds have to be first approved by V-Trans right-of-way division,
And
and then they go to the town attorney.
So who's gonna draw up the deed?
Huh?
Who's gonna draw up the deed?
We actually will draw up the
Oh,
deed.
you're drawing up the deed.
I mean, a draft, based on the format that the right-of-way division gives us, that is acceptable to them. Now, the town attorney may tweak it a little bit.
yeah. And that's kind of where I've seen it, like does the town attorney see it first? But we're starting with the V-Trans template,
Yeah.
we're drafting it, V-Trans is approving. And then so the town attorney has to be comfortable with what's going out.
Yeah.
But then it is NRPC as municipal project manager working with the town on negotiating any easements with landowners.
Will the town be responsible for paying our attorney? Yes.
Yes, and that's reimbursable through the grant.
Is there money in that grant to get reimbursed?
Yeah, so right now you have a budget of $25,000 for all of right-of-way, which would include the attorney fees and the compensation for any landowners that are accepting compensation. We will Roger needs to still do the work, but we will have a good idea once those right-of-way plans are done, even before going to any landowners, of how much the just compensation is for each of those deeds. The one positive thing that this project has is that a lot of the sidewalk is happening within the state right-of-way, where, easements are not necessary. So you got something going for you.
How many property owners have we got involved?
Is it
Oh, there's
13?
probably, probably gonna be about 10 or so.
25,000 ain't gonna go very far.
Well, I don't know.
I think
It's
Well,
possible, yeah, it's possible it ain't gonna go, but we won't
They
know
said a lot of
until
them are
we do it.
within the easement, so, the right of way, I mean, so.
Which are, we've got some major challenges there. Good job.
Well, how long is all this gonna take? Quite a while.
Well, let's, what we do know, let's say, let's kind of talk out the schedule. Let's say you are addressing the comments in the preliminary plans, getting them back to V-Trans. Once you start right-of-way plans,
We're probably looking at 3 to 4 weeks to get the right-of-way plans together. We have all the deeds for all the property owners, they're all pretty much available now. So it's, the time is gonna be spent, it's V-Trans right-of-way division reviewing what we send them. My understanding presently is that they're backed up. And so they may put this on the shelf for a month or two before they get to it.
But that stuff you're gonna submit then are them template deeds for the right of way. Okay, so then when we get it back, then we can go to have our attorney review it.
and then, you know, once we know exactly how many landowners you're getting easements from, you know, then I need to sit down with you as a board and come up with your strategy of every town's done it a little bit differently on how, you know, do they want to do a meeting just for adjacent property owners, like to stop in to learn, schedule one-on-one meetings, there's kind of different things that you can do.
Yeah. Now, what other comments or questions?
I think you were gonna give us an estimate at the last meeting, if we were to pull the pin on this project, how much we'd be responsible to reimburse?
Yeah, so what has been billed to date? Just had to revise this. I apologize, I just have to do one calculation, because it's gonna be the bill to date, which I just... You are looking at... plus 41,644... About $53,000.
53?
Yeah.
And that's right as of today.
That is through Trudell billing through February 22nd, that's their last date, and regional planning billing through March 31st, and then all of the Lamro and Dickinson contract from previous.
And we're liable for that full amount.
Yeah, that's, you know, that's how V-Trans has, and Federal Highway has handled these projects, is if you stop, that you're paying back the full amount, even the grant portion.
We had somebody brought up the number, the cost of buying a machine to keep that sidewalk clean.
Yeah, that is an issue.
And then the fact that the village can't expect them to, they're not gonna maintain it for us or plow it. So we'd have to hire somebody to, I guess, be on call, plus the regular I say maintenance, I'm talking snow removal and all that stuff.
Right.
And I think the number that came up was 140,000 for the machine. I think that was yours, Corey, that you came up with. And then we got the maintenance, the salary and the benefits of who's ever gonna do this for us. So that's a big expense. That's gonna be ongoing. Once the sidewalk's in, you can't abandon it, I don't believe. So we're committed long-term
Yeah,
to its
we are.
care.
And so I'm just going, and I did, one thing we mentioned at our last meeting was the 2017 feasibility study, which I think I was able to locate, and so I got some hard copies to give to Brian to have on record and send him a digital copy. And there is anticipated maintenance costs in this that I haven't looked through yet. There's not much there. So one thing, you know, in a situation like the town of Swanton where you don't have, you know, you're not maintaining a sidewalk network yet, I'm wondering, even if the village wouldn't take over, you know, and do it for free, you know, would it be more cost effective for the town to be contracting with the village, who already owns all the equipment, has the staff, as opposed to trying to build more? You know, I think that might be something to at least start talking about. Or instead of investing in the personnel and the equipment, you know, going out and paying a private contractor.
But they probably have to buy equipment too.
There's that.
There'd be some efficiencies, of
Yeah,
course. Yeah.
but just, I completely get your point, like, if you have to bring on new staff and invest in a piece of equipment for, you know, one section of sidewalk, that is a lot for a town.
Yeah, it is. You know, certainly gonna have to be a lot of discussion, we'll have to come up with some kind of plan. We have to take in consider what growth there might be in the future, who knows? The bottom line right now is we're in for 57,000.
Yep. And somebody mentioned when when Don Collins was here with a lady from MVU, is 730 students up there now? That sound right?
It's right in their report, 733 students.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
From what, 1,200? When I was on the board, I think there was 1,100 or 1,200.
Yeah, there was initially, when we first went in, it
It
was
was just under 1,200.
yeah, just under 1,200. Well, you know, I mean, it's, you know,
It's a very tough decision.
it is a tough decision because so much of the work has been done. Not that we, you know, we appreciate the work you've done,
Oh, yeah, sure.
but.
We do. I just want to settle up.
But, I mean, there are concerns,
Yeah.
obviously. I don't know, I mean, what are we gonna do?
I think it's time for us to test the waters. This has been going on, how many years? 10 years?
That's 2017 anyway, so maybe say 16, so we're looking at 7 years, yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure that we can support this any further. Back in 2016, things were different. We're in 2023, things are much different. And perhaps it's time for us to make a decision of whether we're going to move forward, see what the community pushback is, and then see if somebody else is interested in putting this up there. But I'm very concerned about the ongoing cost. That's my biggest concern. I wouldn't be opposed to listening to a motion, or I'd make the motion that we withdraw from any further work on this project.
Well, if you wanna make a motion, I guess, somebody seconds it, we'll have to vote on it.
I'd make that motion, based on everything and again, no reflection on you, you've done a good job. You brought us to a point where we can now make, I think, a very, very intelligent decision. We got all the facts. So thank you for doing that. But I'd make a motion that we discontinue our interest in this project.
I think there needs to be more discussion before we.
Well, we can make somebody can second it, and we can have discussion before we vote.
I think my big concern is, Mr. Chairman, is, of course, I wasn't on the board when this started. And I think that, I kind of feel like I gotta agree with Steve. The big thing that bothers me is, we really don't have a bottom line here. What our expenditure is gonna be. And you know, I love to see things move forward in the community, but I can say you know, myself personally, if I'd been on the board when this started, I would have voted against it. I think there's money that could be better spent elsewhere. I'm gonna second his motion.
All right, now the motion been made and seconded. Now, we can have more discussion.
I was the one who brought up the long-term costs. Just curious, do we have any information on long-term growth further down the road? I mean, we have the airport, what about the big chunk of land across from, is it Berger's, I think it was? That chunk of piece, is that, like, will that ever get developed? Is there any discussion there?
Wasn't that just recently sold?
I don't know.
That Burgess deal with it?
Yeah, I just didn't know if there was any future development down there. I know the airport is planning on expanding, but that little chunk of land there. I am very concerned about the ongoing costs though. I mean, that's just from personal experience, that's a huge expense. The machine alone is over 100,000, not including attachments and personnel and so on and so
And
forth.
the other thing is, Cody, how many people are gonna use that sidewalk? A lot of money.
As of now, we
Whoa. Yeah, okay, you said that, all right. Go ahead, Nicole.
I've seen multiple folks just today using that path from the northbound lane of the highway up to the Missisquoi Valley Union High School today alone. I made 3 trips up there, and I've seen people each one of my trips. You know, I have concerns that without even looking at the scoping study and understanding the full scope of the project, you know, that you guys are just shutting it right down. I mean, our whole community is continually growing as the demographics have shown. When people look to move to a community, they look to walkability as something that brings them here, and to know that you can have your safe passage from our village or surrounding areas to the school is something that a lot of people really look for when they're moving to the community. Yes, there is, you know, more costs and maintenance that we have to look in and evaluate, but I think to just shut it down without, you know, further reading into what the scoping study said, looking at what projections are and for growth in our community as a whole, you know, we could be shutting down something that could be really important to our future growth.
Was there a game up there today? I went by there today and I couldn't tell.
No, they're all canceled.
They're all done? Okay.
The rain is,
Just
Oh, okay,
practice,
thanks.
that's all.
Okay,
I would have to agree with that, there should be more discussion before just shutting it down. I have my concerns on both, but
well,
I think there
we
should
can
be.
discuss ourselves right to death. I think we know what the issue is, for certain.
Well,
I don't know if I wanna, I'm not completely, you know, probably at the last meeting I might have agreed that maybe we've gone far enough. I'm not so sure tonight, cause I've been thinking about it, you know, I do drive that road once in a while. There may be some future potential there. We're already on the line for 57,000. This right-of-way issue could put a hammer to it too.
do we own the
If
plan?
people don't want
I
to,
disagree with you.
yeah, I mean, people don't want to cooperate, this could turn out to be a mess.
Do we still own the rights to all these plans? Say we terminate it tonight,
Yes.
but for whatever reason we resurrect it, raise it from the dead. Do we still have access to all of these plans? We own them, I guess, per se?
Yep. I mean, there's some, you know, there are some things that would have to go into stopping the project, and there would be costs to getting it back online. You know, chief among them is, you know, if you're formally deciding to stop the project, then there is, you know, notification of there's 15 days notice that you're giving to TCE and paying for any costs that they've incurred up to that point. There is also notifying V-Trans, they have to notify Federal Highway. You know, so getting things back up, it would be applying for funds again. And, you know, down the road with costs increasing.
I wasn't here either. Did Missisquoi weigh in on this?
Wait a minute.
Yeah, you lose your grant.
Hold on, wait, what did you have to add, then I'll get back to you, Steve.
Basically, you're gonna lose your grant, you know, so,
Well,
grant
that
goes
money-
away.
That money's gone,
you
yeah.
know.
Okay, Nicole, maybe you've been here long enough. Did Mrs. Coy weigh in on this? I mean, I would think they'd have an obligation.
I think all that information would be in the scoping study, no?
It talks about the need for this, but it also, one thing I will add is, to make a decision, a big decision like this, and not have it be on your agenda as that the board is making this decision.
Yeah, sure.
I think that's something that you should consider.
Well, I got two questions. What drove this from the beginning? Did somebody approach regional planning from Swanton for this project? Do you know?
So I, this is something that's been percolating for years. I mean, I've been with the commission for 21 years, and it's always been something talked about. Actually, the feasibility study, regional planning, we didn't have any part of it. This was, town staff that worked with the board to apply for the feasibility study, and you had cross-engineering that completed it, and then you had town staff with the support of the board apply for the bike ped grant and get it. So, but I can say, that it's this thing that, has percolated throughout the years, at least in the 21 years I've been with the commission.
My other question is gonna be, you're saying the construction costs are in the ballpark of what you figured 4 or 5 years ago, which it's really a hard sell for anybody to believe that. Nothing personal, but I just,
$4,000.
what happens if it's 300,000 over what we initially thought? Is there gonna be money available?
Well, I was gonna talk about that, but
Okay.
then you decided to just throw out the project.
No, we ain't done, we ain't voted yet, we're having a discussion.
So options for projects like this, because, cost overruns do happen, especially when the process takes so long. V-Trans does allow for towns to apply for additional funding for projects. And what I was going, before this meeting, what I was coming in and was going to suggest is that there's a grant that's due June 6th for the bike ped, and that the town apply for the supplemental funding to close the budget gap, plus, looking 2 years of inflation, to be able to make sure that the town was whole by construction. So that would have been my recommendation
Okay.
to get extra funding.
Could
All
you
right,
repeat
now-
what that grant was again?
It's the Vermont Bicycle and Pedestrian Grant Program, something like that.
Thank you.
Okay, so if we can't get additional funding, would the town still be on the hook for what we've spent? Say it was 300,000 more, we couldn't get any grant funding, we couldn't get the money approved by the voters, are we still gonna be on the line?
My understanding, and Roger, you've been through these projects before, is that the lack of funding is not a valid reason to step away from a project from Federal Highway's perspective. That you'd be still on the hook even if you didn't have enough money for the budget.
That worries me even more.
Yes, that's true. Well, is there any more discussion?
My concern is, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate the information that you're giving to us, but it concerns me deeply that the further we go, and if we're not able to get new funding, where the hell are we gonna get the money?
Well, that's true. If we can't get additional funding, it's gonna be very difficult, probably, but, I guess we can just tell them we're still looking for funding and they won't make us pay back what we spent. We're probably, I guess, probably should have asked this last time, but how much at a maximum are we gonna be in for if we go all the way through the right-of-way process, all the way into the bid process, then we can't afford it? We gonna be up to 150,000 at that point in time, 100,000?
I can calculate that, if you don't mind, I will. So at that point, if we were going right up to, but not including construction.
Right.
what I would be adding is the full amount of project management and the design contracts, 69,644, 93, and then we have 25,000 for right-of-way
Right.
that hasn't been used. You know, so that's $94,644 is what we have allocated right now for that design, project management, right-of-way, and then the rest is for construction.
And would we have to pay 20% of that 90-something thousand? Or are we responsible for all of it?
So how it's worked with these is the town is responsible for, if you walk away from the project, you're responsible for the entire amount that's been spent.
53,000.
So,
Right now, yeah.
Right now.
right now it's 53. So it's not just the match, it's the full 100% of what's been
But if we go
spent.
further, as Earl just said, I don't know if I got an answer.
Yeah, if we go further, we're gonna be up to 94,000.
Thank you.
If we go right to the bidding process, and we're ready for bids, then we can find out how much the construction is gonna be. And, you know, that's where an issue might come up. But we're gonna go in for another, it looks like another $40,000 on the hook to get to that point.
If I may.
What?
If I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
Would it be appropriate to, not to prolong any, moving forward or halting the project, but to do the due diligence to the taxpayers to see what their decision would be? Because ultimately, if we don't have enough funding, then they're going to be the ones who are going to have to pay for this, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
So I think it's really, I'd like to hear what they would want to do, more so than just 5 people. I mean,
I don't understand that, but I don't know what process you would propose in order to do that.
neither do I.
One process might be to have a public hearing,
Something.
I was
or have it as an
gonna just
agenda item.
suggest something.
Okay,
Okay.
right.
Don't take action tonight. Go out roughly 1 month from tonight, at the first meeting in June, and that's when you either have a public hearing, but I would, we'll get you all, you send this electronic.
I did, yeah, I
Okay, so
got that
I'll forward
electronic.
this to all in your email,
Mhm.
and you can read that.
Can I get a hard copy?
You can have a hard copy,
Thank you.
okay? Anybody else want a hard copy?
I'll take one.
I'll take
You'll
one.
take one. Okay.
Hard copies are probably easier.
Well, they'll be easier to read.
Yeah.
So, we'll get you, we'll print some off. We'll print
We'll do that to Earl first, and he can.
Oh, I got one.
Oh, all right, you
I
want
got
that
one.
on?
And then, you know, if you want to schedule it as a public hearing, or just further.
I think that's not a bad idea, Brian, and yeah, we start putting the notice out tomorrow somewheres.
Yeah.
You know, all over, as much as we can, to let know, so people
Notify
can,
the school board as well.
yeah, notify, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yep, notify the school, Missisquoi, and I don't know, any of the other players that would be in there, the rec committee, they probably got some issues, concerns about this.
The homeowners, the business owners along the way.
Yeah, business owners and the landowners
Right.
that live there.
I just think it'd be the most fair thing for our community.
That would delay the process from moving forward until after that meeting, so that means we're gonna lose another month, what the hell, it's been 10 years or 6 years, 7 years, I guess, it's once a month, right?
Well, sorry, my
Okay.
next question is, if, if the grant deadline is that first week in June for additional funding through the bike ped
Yeah.
grant, would we start to prepare something so we're ready to meet that, or? Because you wouldn't wanna have to wait.
What's your opinion on that?
I think that you should. I think because if, I know long-term maintenance costs are definitely a concern, and that's kind of this big picture,
Right.
but you also have this immediate concern about a construction shortfall. And this is your one opportunity to apply for funding to at
And
least
that's-
take care of that.
That's a once-a-year application?
That one's once a year. There's also the Transportation Alternatives Program. That is another option that comes around in November. Some years, it's more focused on transportation water quality projects, and I don't know, I'd have to find out what this year's is. So, with the bike ped, NRPC, outside of not billed to this grant, we are available to help you apply. If you think that there's a chance that you are gonna continue with the project.
How long would it take us to get an answer if we apply for that grant?
Oh, and that is at least a 3-4 month turnaround. It's a statewide.
Is it competitive?
It's competitive, but Roger was talking about that there's even a phrase in this year's program saying that they're giving priority to projects, the existing projects that may have a budget shortfall due to inflation, COVID, the whole 9 yards. So I think that we'd be putting a competitive application together.
So who's gonna do the work if we wanna put this application in?
So it would be NRPC, and we'd be doing that outside of this grant, so not billed to this grant, just under our tech assistance.
So you're not gonna charge us?
No, not, it wouldn't be charged.
That's real nice.
It's the least I can do and try.
I didn't know if you'd have time to do it either, but you could get it in, fit it in, eh?
Oh, Kyle's still on the line. Hi, Kyle.
He's got time.
So, no, but this was on my radar, even with not knowing that the town was gonna head in this direction. I thought that this grant was worth pursuing, so we've kind of been thinking about it.
And according to the grant timeline, it said in late August is when you should have notification to all applicants.
Okay.
Well, all right, the motion's been made and seconded, so I do, and we had discussion, I think we've had,
No, we have a motion to
discussed everything.
table.
What?
No, we have a motion to table that.
You wanna not vote on your
Yeah,
motion?
I think that Brian came up with a good suggestion to somebody.
Yeah, I do too.
Maybe I can withdraw the motion.
Yeah.
And we can keep moving forward and we can reinitiate it later if we have
All
to.
right. Okay, so you're willing to withdraw your
Oh,
motion?
yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and Brian, we're gonna get that set up. That's up the meeting for
I'll
second,
notify all the,
first Tuesday in June, and I don't know when that is.
well, we're still in April there, I'm not.
Yeah, you guys are behind.
It is June 6th.
So,
I never come in here, I never changed the camera.
June 6th.
June 6th.
And possibly, we might want to consider looking for a bigger room.
I'll call the door.
Yep. But I would definitely contact all the landowners that are involved with this.
Yeah.
You know, to make sure they're aware of what's going on. Then we get some kind of idea of how hard these easements are gonna be.
Yep.
I agree.
Good suggestion.
So as we wrap up here, so 2 things. One, are you, as Roger, it has some comments to address for these preliminary plans. Do you want him to continue working on that?
From now until then, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, well, we don't know how the decision's gonna come out, so let's keep working forward. Yeah.
I agree, let's keep moving forward.
Okay.
And then the other thing, as far as, coming and doing this public hearing, I think I said this at last meeting, where I'm here as under contract with the town, working as your project manager. And that's why I haven't been like the cheerleader for the project, because I kind of feel like I'm working for the select board. So I don't know what you think about what you want my role to be there. And if it's, who should be presenting on the project. And I don't know if we can bring up some of the committee members who worked through this feasibility study, who might be best to talk about it. I don't know.
Well, I would say your role would be to present the information. First and most important is why we're even here that night discussing this. What started this? And that's where you're gonna, I'll learn more when I read this. That's definitely where, and then you're gonna have to do the numbers, and plus you're gonna have to definitely define where we are as of that night. And I believe after that, Of course, my thought is that we just let the public carry the discussion. And see how they feel about it. I don't think we should try to be a cheerleader for either side.
Yeah.
At that point in time, got the information out there, here it is. And if this is what the community wants, then we're gonna go ahead and do it.
I agree.
I think we're gonna seek their input,
Yeah.
and then we'll make the decision.
Yeah. Yeah.
And would you, as chair, be facilitating that public comment period, or how would you?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
I think that's the way it should be done. Unless you want to do it, Cole.
No, thank you.
That's all.
I appreciate you thinking about me though, Art.
All right, so we got a plan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have the rest of your meeting.
You sure you don't want to stay?
Nope.
It's only going to get better.
Oh, really?
Really?
Wow, you really stacked this for them.
Yeah, every
Oh.
2 weeks he does.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I just wanted to see if we could request that, that we go to the Newtown business here.
Yeah, so I was gonna suggest that myself.
And
Yeah,
they've been very
might as
patient
well.
listening to the rest of the stuff.
Yeah.
And I know they both gotta get up and go to work tomorrow.
Yep. Okay,
So we're gonna take the
Newtown business.
Newtown business, so we're gonna start with Mr. Rose, or are you gonna go with?
I'm gonna go with the hearing on a vicious dog complaint.
Yeah.
We have all the parties here?
No, we don't.
The owner of the animal.
I don't think anyways. The owner is not here, at least he's not signed up.
Okay,
Mr. St. Francis.
all right.
The testers are here.
I did attempt to call him.
Okay, so
Yeah.
what I would like to hear right now is from you, Jim, is what he's in violation of and what our ordinances are.
What's your role? I don't know
He's
your.
a
My
doctor.
name's Jim Benson, I'm the animal.
Oh, okay, I'm Steve, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So what happened was.
Hold on just 1 minute. We have somebody on Zoom that wanted to make a comment specific to this.
No, I'm just asking about your agenda. This is AJ LaRosa. I'm here for the other agenda item on the new business.
Yeah.
the conveyance-
Okay, when we get done this, we're gonna go right to you. We gotta do that, we've already started this one. You'll be next on the list, okay?
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
So, on April 6th, testers called me, told me that their neighbor's dog killed 10 of their chickens and scratched 2 of their cars. She filled out a complaint form and sent pictures and videos. Last year, same dog killed a chicken and a duck, right? They didn't file a complaint at that time. They was hoping that it just wouldn't happen again. But this is the second time that this dog is. I went down and talked to Brad St. Francis. He lives 2 houses down. His dog's name is Spartan. He's an 8-year-old. Spartan's not licensed. He wasn't last time. He's still not, and he does not have vaccination papers. He broke through a small fenced-in area by breaking a bungee cord. I talked to Mr. St. Francis. I told him that before this happens, this meeting, that he should really license his dog, fix the bungee cord and stuff, and he never did. As far as I know, last time I talked to Kathy, he had not licensed the dog. What I'd like to do is have testers read their complaint, and then the select board ask them questions. And normally we'd have questions, we could do the same thing with Mr. St. Francis, but he didn't come. There's your complaint. Or do you want me to read it? Doesn't matter. Yeah, okay. It's pretty simple. He's like, dog killed 10 chickens on April 6th. He jumped and scratched on 2 vehicles. It's not the first time killing the birds. This time the birds were locked up in a coop and the dog broke into the coop. It's not like they were running all over the place either. I've had a call for help, state police, and because the dog trapped, barking and growling and jumping on their vehicles. The dog, I think, is kind of friendly to people, but he's a scary dog. If you saw him, you'd be scared of him. He's big and kind of vicious looking. So you were saying the laws that he's broken. He's he was at large, that's against the law, our town ordinance. He's not licensed, and that's against our town ordinance. It's a $100 fine ticket.
For just the license?
Just for the license,
What
and
about
just
at
for
large?
the being at large, that's another $100 ticket.
So right now
So
you're at
$200.
$200.
Yeah.
How about the lack of vaccination? No fine for that?
No, there's no fine for that. The dog has to be vaccinated to be licensed, so.
Okay.
He might be vaccinated, but he showed me no proof. I asked him, he didn't have any. I'm assuming that it's not vaccinated. That's usually the reason people don't license your dog, because it costs a lot to get your dog vaccinated, but it's cheap to license it.
Is there any remuneration that goes, any money that goes towards you folks for losing your chickens and stuff?
I think there should be, I know that.
I didn't know if there's a town fund or a state fund or...
Well, I don't know if the laws have changed, but the first time I was on the select board, there was an issue very similar to this, different animal. It's a civil issue.
Okay.
They have the right to bring them into civil court to get compensated for your loss. It's not the town's responsibility to compensate you. Our responsibility only lies with enforcing our ordinances. But there's no at-large with personal property damage.
Well,
Is there anything in the ordinance specific to that?
I think, I agree with what you said about that being civil, but I think, I don't know for sure. I'd have to go through and really look. I'm not sure. But, yes, I mean, so you can, some things you can do, including without limitation, that the dog be disposed of in a humane way, put down, muzzled, chained, or confined per specific order and direction. The order shall be sent by certified mail, so you guys can tell them to do that. I don't see where you can like charge him. I mean, he should have to pay for those chickens, and the duck especially. The duck was a pet, right?
Last year when we killed the
Yeah,
ducks,
the duck was a pet.
we were leaving for field days and we thought we'd hear, you suggested him that he should pay for the birds. We thought we'd at least get an apology,
Right.
nothing. This time, the same thing, we've heard nothing from him.
And I had to call 911 because he's usually friendly, but this time he was growling at me and I was stuck in my Hummer and my twins were about to get off the school bus.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to do. So I called 911 and they told me they don't deal with dogs. So I was stuck.
Well, these situations have nothing to do with the animals. That's the owner. And that's what makes it extremely difficult. I think, I don't know how the rest of the board members feel, but I think we should take every action that we have authority to take. The fines, and we want to address a letter to them saying that we want, the dog has to be properly restrained. And if it's at large again, now, isn't there something in the ordinance about a continued violation?
Well, that's what I think you could write him a letter saying that next time he could be impounded and put down.
Yes.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Which I really hope that doesn't happen, but
Yeah.
that, I think that you have to, I think you should send him a letter. That's pretty, because he's had chances. I've been to his house and he had chances to, he doesn't seem
He's
to be.
ignoring it. He's ignoring it.
Any one of our dogs can do something stupid, embarrass us, and this could be bad, but he's not even, doesn't seem to be trying to do the right thing, so.
He needs to be responsible for his pet, that's what.
And I scratched my Hummer. I have an H2 Hummer and he didn't seem to care about that either. I have pictures of that as well.
In my work.
Paw prints.
Well,
So there again, Carly, we can't,
I know.
that's something civilly that you guys can do, Bill.
Yeah. Well,
But we're certainly willing to use the full extent of our authority to get him a letter and fine him. And I wish there was more we could do, but
I
I gotta,
figured that's what this would come out to, or just this.
and I'm sure if you go the civil route, you know how that's gonna end up. It's gonna
Well, I think
cost,
that's a small
Costs us more
claims.
than we ever get.
it's gonna cost you money and time, and you're never gonna get nothing in return.
Well, your small claims court is the way to go. It's a $35 filing
what are
fee,
the
so.
other options?
But it's not happening on a regular basis though, right?
Well,
Did
twice.
you
in the
see
rest
him
of
at
the-
large a lot?
There was a couple times last year where we'd come out, there'd be dead chickens all over, but we thought, you know, we have a lot of animals,
Yeah.
wildlife. And then we caught
Right.
it.
And we caught him red-handed,
Yeah.
chewing on one of my
So you
front
may have done it
yard.
before.
It's,
So then we knew what was happening. It was the dog.
these
So-
guys, we've got.
Well, what do you guys think? I think the best thing that we can do right now is to fine them on both issues that we can. Then we write the letter with the language that says that the dog has to be properly constrained, and if it's not, and it's at large, again, with any property damage to any other owners, then we're gonna impound the dog and have it
Or I think, I have to go back and read this ordinance and read the Vermont state laws, but I think you can also say up to $500 that, if their dog was to do it again, that I would.
Is that in our ordinance?
I think it's, I'd have to look. It's part of I think it's part of state law, but, it might be in your ordinance. And you say, I'll pick up the dog, and you pay $500 before you get the dog back.
We ain't giving the dog back, we get it. That would be
And
stupid.
if he does it again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be stupid again.
So I think what you need to do, Jim, is you need to make sure the information Brian is sending to him is accurate.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it don't come back on us.
Yeah. And I'll write them the 2 tickets for $100 a piece.
Okay?
Yep.
That sound fair, Bill and Carly? It's not fair, but,
Just so
I mean,
just so he knows, you know, he's on strike too.
right, that's what I'm saying.
That's the,
Yeah.
Like I said,
We got too many conversations going
Not
on
the
here.
next day, but.
So you guys will get together and get this out, and probably just before it's sent, I think on this issue, Brian, you should email this to all aboard and, you know, have them say if it's okay or not. I'll call you.
Carly, did you have something you wanted to add?
No.
Bill? You all set?
Alright, now I think because of taking this action, we should be making a motion to that effect.
I make a motion, I move.
Alright, so that's a motion that we're gonna.
Cody seconded?
Yeah.
Cody seconded it, and that motion is to fine him for,
2
no
violations.
license and at large. And also to send him a letter stating that his dog has to be, chained or confined.
And licensed.
Right, and licensed. And if there's another incident, then the board is gonna have to consider euthanasia.
Can we make sure that's a certified?
Alright, so that motion's been made and
It
seconded?
has to be certified.
What?
It has to be certified.
Yeah.
Yes, it'll have to be a certified registered letter. Alright, motion been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Alright, that motion carried.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Carly. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay, now we'll go back to Mr. La Rosa. Can you hear me?
I can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening, thank you so much. My name is Adriel Rosa, and I'm an attorney for RL Valley Inn. We own that Maple Fields, and we also own the hometown Sunoco to the south there. And I have with me Chris Gallipo of Civil Engineering Associates. And, you know, we're hoping to bend your ear a little bit here. We have Valley has, you know, a lot of properties, and they're in the process of trying to conserve and donate to conservation organizations much of the wetland and other protected areas they have on site. And we're approaching towns to see if they're interested in taking on some of that land. The hometown Sunoco parcel in particular, if you're familiar with it, it's right off the interstate there.
Yep.
And the whole back, I don't know, Chris, what, 75% of it is essentially a large wetland complex of relatively high protective value. And we're really at a big picture level to see if the town, or what the process would be here in the town of Swanton for carving that off. On the zoning side, it's relatively easy. Lot size issue is no problem. It's in your institutional travel corridor or highway service corridor, I forget exactly what it's called, so lot size isn't an issue, and I think we take care of all the subdivision permitting, but it's really a question of what's the formal process with the town, and is the town interested in that sort of large wetland parcel as becoming a town-owned conserved land? It's just something that we're sort of working on parcel by parcel across the state that we have.
Go ahead, Steve.
There's another landowner, it's the Handy Luno family that own the property that goes up to the Robin Hood Drive or whatever the hell that road is called. How would that, if Swanton were to call this a conservation area now, how would that affect adjoining property owners such as the Handy Luno group? Would they be restricted from anything they would do with their property because of it bordering a conservation district?
You're not changing it to a conservation district. No, you would just be taking the parcel itself and being able to do, it's basically undevelopable. So no, they wouldn't be restricted at all.
Okay, all right, thanks.
No.
And the Laboyle Valley Rail Trail runs far to the south of it, so there's not really connectability to it. I think at some point in the past...
It's not connected. The rail trail is not connected to this parcel unless it's way up in the back, maybe?
Yeah, it's not connected at all.
No, I didn't think so, no.
So what would the benefit be to us taking it over?
You just took the words out of my mouth. Go ahead.
What would the benefit be for the town of Swan to be taking that over?
It's just a conservation land. Some towns are interested in owning those wetlands and conserving them and preserving them. Some landowners don't really benefit from them, and the towns do. They have more conserved lands in their parcels and can build conservation connected corridors. Between that and some of the area connecting to the Lamoille Valley Rail Trail, we're able to build sort of a wildlife corridor through the interstate area.
Do you have a map of what you're proposing?
We have a couple of different sketches. We're happy to send some over. It's basically about 5 acres of wetland between Robin Hood and Precision Drive there, bounded by 89.
That doesn't include the area where the trees have been cleaned out.
That's the Handy Luno.
That's the Handy Luno.
Okay, so
That's the Handy Luno parcel.
Yep, all right.
Yep.
Well, I think we're gonna need to have a sketch of what you're proposing, for sure. I'd like to see where the boundaries are for the interstate and all that too. Go ahead,
So
Steve.
maybe we ought to just settle the issue. Are we interested in taking some valueless swamp into Swanton's ownership and then assume any liability going forward?
Well, that's the other thing we have to look at, yeah.
And right off the top of my head, I gotta say, give us a Ducks Unlimited or something,
Well, that might not be such a bad idea
Yeah.
because we'd have to look into the liability issue.
Absolutely, and the long-term
Yeah.
cost associated.
Yeah.
Right from the beginning, I'm not even interested in it, but that's just my opinion. I mean, if you want a motion, I'd make a motion we pass.
Well, is there an organization you know of in the town that's interested in wetland parcels? I mean, some towns have specific parks alerting or other areas that save these parcels. In Burlington, there's a conservation commission that operates a little bit independently. I know Milton has one. There's some land trusts that do these things. We're just not familiar with what y'all have in Swanton. That's why we ended up with you. We originally reached out to the conservation committee, but that ended up being you find folk as well, it seems.
Well, Swanton has a lot of land already committed forever into wetland and conservation.
Yeah.
That brings very little income to the town. I can see where some towns where they might be interested in preserving some of that, but Swanton has preserved a lot of land, both wetlands and farmland.
Probably about 4,000 acres.
Yeah. So we're not, I guess, Steve has probably said it pretty well. I don't I don't see any really big urgent need for us to take that property, and there may be some issues that we come up with where we may not even wanna take that property. So you're probably not looking at a sale here.
Okay. Well, we wanted to ask.
Yeah.
Some towns are interested, and we want to give you the opportunity. And if you know of anybody in the town who's interested in conserving land, duck habitat, wildlife habitat kind of stuff, please reach out to us. I'm not sure what we'll do with it. Right now, it's still kind of an open issue. We're going up and down the interstate with the parcels we do have, doing the same conversation, and some go other places. Some towns want it because they can build a park complex or things like that, but this does seem a little isolated, so I can understand that. If the rail trail went through it, that probably might be a different, might be a different story, but it seems a bit isolated. Okay, well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Chris?
Thank you.
Anything? No? Okay, thanks.
Okay, now we're gonna go back to the old town business. We have, LVRT, but Joel's not around. Do you have an update on it?
Yeah, there is no update.
No, okay.
Joel didn't get what he was waiting for.
Waiting for it, didn't come in.
And if we get it, he'll send it to me tomorrow.
All right.
Okay?
Update on the new website.
Well, the website. This is a screenshot as best as could be printed on a photocopier, or on the printer for the computer.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Swanton and the Vermont got cut off there. But this is what the homepage is gonna look like when you first come on.
Yeah.
Then over here are two buttons. You click on either town or village, and it'll instantly give you
Yeah.
the information on the town and the village. Then again here, then the services, what is provided. So that's where all the different services both the town and the village would have. The community, what there is in the community for organization, and there's some doubts. So, and then it goes into the various pages further on. But that's what the front end of it's gonna look like. The timeline as it stands now is moving along a lot faster than we originally anticipated. On May 11th, we'll be meeting by Zoom to review the website. On May 18th, there will be a training session for those of us that are going to go in and update the website going forward. And then on the 25th, is a final review and questions, and they hope to launch on May 31st. I've gotten the authorization for SwantonDT.gov authorization signed this evening by Earl.
Yeah.
Okay, and the reason for that is the .gov is a very highly guarded web domain. So it has to be the highest ranking elected official, and they in turn will send this to the registrar. They will find to make certain that the Swanton, Vermont is actually a legal entity of the United States, and they'll do all that. And then we're uploading the town minutes.
That's all done.
It's all done, it's already done.
All of it.
And that's Mark Longway in the village. Actually, tomorrow I'm gonna be talking to Paul, because he's a little confused as to what's the town and what's the village at this point. He will iron that out. And I gotta go out on nicer days than today to go take some pictures. And, especially for economic development.
Yeah.
And our website presently has these frames around all the pictures, and those are gonna go away. It'll just be the picture. So within the next week or so if you see me out taking pictures, I'm gonna practice my, I always take more pictures than what needed. So that's where we stand right now.
So it's moving along pretty well.
It is, much faster than we had originally thought. So, yeah, barring any problems. So, if there's any questions?
My only question, and I always say this, is but I don't think it's necessarily has anything to do with the website, but it might be part of it, is this mass notice. You know, if there's a meeting and
Yeah.
people wanna be notified,
Yeah.
that it just goes out, and you know, I know you're talking about the.
Like an email?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
You know, if somebody wants to sign up for it in town to, so they could, you know, get
Yeah.
these notices,
Right.
I think it's something that should be in there.
That's a good question, we'll make sure, we had mentioned it to him in the past, so we'll
Yeah.
make sure that he hasn't lost track of it.
Yeah,
Am I following this? So something when you type in swantonvg.gov, it brings you to the website, there's a spot where you could sign in,
Yes.
right? And then put your email in, and then we can communicate with our
That's what
residents.
we should-
Yeah.
That's a super smart idea.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I don't know a lot of websites that don't use that.
Yeah,
Oh, the news media would use it, you know, they'd always be on notice.
yeah,
Yeah,
so, but I'll definitely mention it to him on
that's
that.
actually super critical.
And, so that's what we've got, and
Looks good though.
it's gonna look better than hopefully what we've got now, but I'm sure it will. It'll be easier to maintain.
yes, that's what's the most important thing.
Then the update on outstanding issues I prepared, this is sort of also economic development, it's
Yeah.
kind of mixed together.
We're talking about our bulletin board, right?
Your bulletin board.
You gotta put that on your bulletin board.
What we've got, well, you bring up a good point, I want to talk about that, but I have to, okay. First of all, we start off with ARPA funds, this is as of April 30th. Kathy has to do a report to the federal government, and as of April 30th, we have obligated and or spent $763,593.05, with the remaining $485,913.32 unobligated and available. So that's what we've got thus far. The library elevator, the contract with Otis Elevator has been terminated effective yesterday, May 1st. A new contract with Alpha Elevator of Montpelier has been placed. We'll be scheduling an appointment with Alliance to look at the float in the sub pump in the elevator. And I've checked out, and I'm gonna see if we could get an electronic gizmo, so there's not really a float, the electronic sensor is gonna sense when there's water and it
Maybe
turns
that's a
it
better
on.
setup for you.
Yeah. But they're the people who, so if they say, yep, so they won't need the tech there just to look at it.
Yeah.
But then when they get to install it, it's when the elevator tech has to be there. The revolving loan fund, we're still waiting for final confirmation from the Vermont Community Development Program that the grant to leader is closed prior to being allowed to begin using the RLF. And we've received interest certainly from a local startup business about using this as a possible part of the financing package for their business. And I did receive the business plan and everything on late Friday, or before I left on Friday, and I printed it all off, so I'll start taking a look at that. The 911 compliance, the addresses on the Swanton end of French Hill Road have been brought into compliance with one minor change that should be completed by the end of the week. And also next up will be Rocky Ridge Lane. Notice of addresses change about to happen to all those residents. Their addresses to be changed effective July 1st, 2023. And there's a fair number of residents up there. I've received one person wondering, why are we doing this? And so it's just, I explained it to them.
Yeah.
Did he respond?
No, he must be, he was okay. So that's what's going on with that, and as we're going along, we're finding roads that we're tackling that they go into another town or that we know have been messed up, and we're trying to get them all on the same wavelength. And the MOU with the Swanton Historical Society, Jason Barney had wanted to confer with other individuals. I'm now wanting to set up a time with him to visit with him at the museum. I was down there today, and the decking that's there needs to be power washed. wash, which we'll do, it needs it every spring. But it has never had any wood preservative or stain put on it, and I think we probably should get that done.
Yeah.
Because it's starting to show its age. And so that's what we got there, a combination of what's going on, and always subject to change, of course. And what I wanted to say, and I've had this idea, and I obviously have to talk to the owners. You know, we're a pretty spread out community. You know, if you're down in, way down the end of Lakewood Drive, it's quite a trip to get out the Bushy Road.
Yeah.
And when we were trying to post ordinances and things of that nature on the snowmobiling, I came up with the idea, if we were to talk to like Gingresses, to see if they would mind if we could buy a kiosk, and also out at Mother Hubbard's, that seems to be a pretty popular place for gathering point, where we would have the key and we could put in the notices of the ordinance and things of that nature and announcements and whatnot. I don't know what that would cost, but I'd just check into it and we see if it's something that they would be willing to have.
That's not a bad idea because, you know, we need to do as much as we can to get, so people know what's going on. You know, we say they don't show up, and they might not show up, but maybe if we do a better job, we might get a few more. We're not ever gonna get a lot, or a few more.
Right.
But, I'm not opposed to any way, to bring more information out there.
I'll talk with them and also get some prices and see what we're looking at.
You know, maybe they might just let you do it now, cause they're taxpayers.
No, but I mean the cost.
Oh, the cost of getting
Cost of putting it in.
yeah, okay,
Right.
alright, yeah.
Good idea.
Well, and that might be something that the building trades
It could
community would be
sure.
interested
Yeah.
in doing, as they
Right.
have done in the
As a
past with
project.
other things.
And so that, I had that and it's like, well, you know, why not?
Yeah, I think that's a very good idea.
I stopped in to Mother Hubbard's one day a couple of weeks ago, and people were there talking, wanted to know what was going on in town. I mean, people from the village will travel out there, which is fine. They have their coffee and whatnot, so it's a good place. So, okay, I'll work on that.
Okay.
So that's that.
Oh, I wanna add one more on there, because I actually thought of that again today. The library, they haven't put the furnaces in.
Not yet.
They'll probably be scheduling them fairly soon.
Fairly soon, I'd say at this point.
Okay, now, we gotta make sure, and you said after we get that done, the
efficiency
amount will be in there. Because we need to do something before winter, we don't wanna let that go through another winter.
It's right on my notes on the computer. It's in there. Right, because we only get our rebates back from them.
I was just gonna ask you about that.
And then, you know, have them come in and look, and then we'll
see what
hopefully they'll pay a little bit for the.
Well, while we're still on the library, I was there today, they still don't have a functioning toilet in the basement.
Right.
Where are we with that?
Well, I left a message for Alan, so I'll call him again tomorrow.
They had something that had to be replaced.
Just a little part to keep the pressure up.
Who's that?
Alan did.
I seen his mom passed away today.
Oh, she did? Oh, what was her name?
Really? Oh, that's right, she.
I didn't even aware of that.
Well, maybe we might, I guess we probably should wait until next week, call them. And see if, if you can't just say, hey, can you do that one or not, you know, and if you can't, then we probably get somebody else.
Yeah. But he's got the part.
Yeah.
Or should have.
Yeah, I was thinking he already ordered.
Yeah, he had to order it. And it was the last conversation I had with him was, it's in and we'll be there to fix it, but
it still ain't come yet.
Still not there.
But the upstairs one's working fine.
Yeah.
Correct.
Good. Okay, we're next on to, well, we've done all the Newtown business. Community and Economic Development, I think, Steve, have you talked to Kim yet?
I sent Brian a copy of the email.
Yeah.
I've got it here for you.
Yep.
I sent him an email, he was on vacation, but he called me and said, yep, let's do it. And I cited the 4 projects. I told him that I was the liaison
Yeah.
between him, and here's what I sent him, Brian's got a copy, and I think he's gonna send it to you guys,
Yeah.
when you get a chance.
Okay. Well, I guess after the discussion we had tonight, we need to get that moving forward.
Yeah, and Tim is the perfect guy to put in the middle of all these
Yep.
folks. He can coordinate them and corral them around, and, so, and I also asked him, that you'll see in there about some mitigating issues, maybe to free up some land down in
Yep.
Jonigan.
Yep.
VPT, well, it's all in there.
Yeah, all right.
You'll see it.
Should be all right. I'll read that and, I don't know, I can buy the paper now, I got enough to read.
Highway Department is,
Yeah.
Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
Yes. Highway Department, really don't have much in there to report. The boys are getting ready for spring and they've had some water issues, but nothing real serious that I know of yet. So, you know, they're usually out and about, and of course Kevin will be here at our next meeting, so, you know, take care of things, but there's nothing that's come up out of the ordinary yet.
Yeah, they got their septic tank fixed, so,
Yeah.
yeah, that was.
So Kevin hasn't called me, so that means everything's good. All right, now we gotta recess the select board meeting and enter into the liquor control board, so we have to make a motion, right?
Do I make a motion to recess our regular scheduled select board meeting and now enter into the liquor control board?
I'll second that.
All right, motion's been made and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Okay, motion carries, so we have one license, and are you in charge of that tonight?
I am.
Okay.
This is a license, the last meeting, or 2 meetings ago.
We approved it.
We approved the liquor license for the Fiddlers on the Green. But that did not include the license they have to have for outside consumption permit, which is the cart that drives around.
I
to
thought it was
serve
by your house, isn't
the
it?
golfers.
But my question is,
Yeah,
did they have that license last year?
yes, it did. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. It
because,
just-
I'm just wondering, because
Yeah,
I do frequent there for dinner, my wife and I know they've definitely been serving alcohol.
Outside, yeah.
so this is that.
Okay.
So that's expired right now?
I'm not sure if it's expired, but they need to renew it.
And as Kathy always says, that nobody's had any complaints, they
No
haven't had any
complaint,
issues.
No issues.
No violations.
Actually, it expired yesterday.
Yeah.
so.
I'll make a motion to renew it.
You-
I second it.
All right, motion been made and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Motion carried.
Okay.
Okay, now we can get back into our regular meeting.
You want a motion to adjourn the liquor control board and go back into the select board meeting?
Yes.
I make that motion.
I'll second it.
All right, motion been made and seconded to go back to our regular meeting, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, now we got any other necessary business, and this is where you want to talk about funding, Steve.
Yeah, I think we need to get Brian focused on looking at whatever funding is out there to our local representatives and then to our federal representatives for the building, the elect building. And I bet we can mold it into something where we can get some money for that, so we don't have to borrow as much or borrow anything. And Brian certainly understands the language, and get started. You could call, I don't know, Randy or whoever and
Randy
get started.
Brown,
And then maybe through our congressional delegation in Washington. And if we get started early, it might cause us, we might have to reconfigure something to fit the funding. So we could do that. We could try to anticipate it and go to every door that we can knock on to see what we can get for funding, so that the less we have to borrow, the less of a deficiency we're gonna have, so.
Michelle Monroe, she was a reporter for the
Yeah, I
Town.
know her, yeah.
Yeah, well, she works for Peter Welch's office.
I know that,
now.
yeah.
Yeah, so, and she's, part of her job is to help constituents
Good.
sort of fund this stuff, so I will be giving her a call.
Yeah, I just think
Working with the
that,
others.
we don't know when this thing's gonna, we don't know if it's gonna be round, square, triangle, or a ball, but we need to get started.
All right,
And get as much as we can get.
We need to get started for sure, but we need to have the rec committee involved in this process. So I don't know how we would fit that in there, but we do need to go. I don't know, has any funding, other sources been considered or looked at from that we, that are already there that we could carry on with? I don't know if they started anything.
They have started to research options, but
Okay.
until they had select board approval support moving forward, everything has really been on hold.
Yeah, I think that they should be involved,
Okay.
but I think that they have to work through Brian.
Yeah,
Everything's gotta go through Brian.
yes, it's all gonna go through Brian, yes.
Absolutely, there's never been a question in that.
I think what I will do is to call Betsy. And do you know if it was Betsy that was doing the research for?
I would call Betsy for everything.
And then get together with her and see where they have been,
Yeah.
because I don't want to reinvent the wheel. They've
Right.
already
Yeah, it's already, right.
follow their leads if they've got some.
Yeah.
And, yeah,
If you need any help, let me know.
Can I get CC'd on that,
yeah.
please?
That's right, you're a rec committee.
The liaison.
Yeah.
I'd like to.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna see, and I think that's why we need some of those numbers that we, hopefully we were gonna get when we do this feasibility study or impact study, because I don't know if we're gonna be able to afford it on our own, even though we do need it.
Well, I'm sure there's money out there that we can get our hands on.
And I'm gonna throw this out again, I think if we're gonna go this route and start looking, especially for federal and state money, maybe we ought to consider, even if it isn't necessarily that part, not part of that project where they're building the rec center or the community center, but something to do with daycare. That might make the whole package more attractive to the government, the state or federal government, because childcare is getting to be a really big issue, and there's a lot of, especially in the state, but I mean, with the plan they got, we can't afford, but if we can get some money, and that makes it more attractive, even if the project goes up, we get more money.
And should we be talking to the Abenakis to see if they might have an interest in partnering? They seem to have access to funding that maybe we couldn't get. I'm just throwing that out there.
Hey,
That's something you should talk to them. You're on that committee too, right?
Mm-hmm. I am.
See all the hats you got?
Oh, yeah, I love wearing them too.
Going on, don't you? But no, I really, I think, maybe this thing could be even bigger than what we're talking about.
Yeah.
If we can find money.
The only problem I see, Earl, with your idea of daycare, that's, the state has got their nose in there, and boy, I'll tell you, I think we're opening up a can of worms that we don't wanna deal with.
Well, they're the ones that created the crisis.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, the
Down
town,
through, they're responsible.
yes, that's true. But we're not gonna, as a town, or we're not gonna be running a daycare. We may have a facility that people can lease,
For
for access.
Yeah.
That, we're gonna provide it, we're gonna make it
Yep.
affordable.
Yep.
Which could be beneficial to the Head Start program, which
Yep.
could be beneficial to any out-of-school time programming.
No, I agree with that. Yep.
And/or, daycare for our seniors as well.
Just for the family feeling too, I mean.
Sure.
And the need there.
So, we got some more work, Brian.
That's right. I have a good assistant.
That's why he's got Christina to help him. Right, Christina?
Well, that's why I asked him if he got a response, because I sent all the letters to change those addresses, and he's like, I got my first response from your letters.
Okay, good.
Okay, is there any other necessary business? That you have, nothing came up, Brian?
No.
Okay, then we go on to correspondence, which Mr. Roger George, I did have a conversation with him. He supposedly has some stuff that he's gathered together over the last couple of years. And I'm willing to do it myself, but anybody else is invited, to go over that information with him. Here in Brian's office, tentatively set it for the 11th, and I gotta get you back with the time, but I think it's gonna be in the morning around 10 o'clock. And I don't know, what he's gonna bring in here, but if he brings in something that might be useful, that, we can move on, not commit any funding for this. Just because I wanna know what's already out there. Because I think there's a lot of information that's out there that's not getting utilized, why spend more money to get more information? But
May 11th?
yeah, May 11th.
Just for your purposes, there was a camp, you know where the public beach is?
Yep.
You got the drainage ditch. There's a little home there, it's a gambrel thing. It was put on the market for $450,000. It's a, I don't know how big the lot is, very narrow lot.
Yeah,
And I heard it was sold,
yeah,
The camp?
the house. It's a year, I think it's a year-round home.
yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
that gives some credence to the fact that it's still an attractive place.
I don't think land values have changed.
No, not because of that. And then one right across the parking lot, there's another dwelling, it's a smaller one. And that, I think it was listed for 350, I could be wrong with it. And they had an open house there, that's the one, very well attended. So, and they're right next to this gentleman.
Well, what I'm thinking is there might be a possibility that if, you know, if we get the right people involved, maybe we can get some more attention to it from the
Sure.
state.
Sure.
And I don't have, you know, and I, like I say, I'll personally take the time to do it. You know, anything, I won't commit the town to anything without the board, you know. And anybody that wants to come to,
I would
come.
like to-
No, I think it's good.
Very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Brian, can you send me a reminder?
Okay, so there'd be 3 of you, that's a meeting.
Oh, we can't do that then.
Well, that's, unless we warn it.
You can warn it, yeah.
Man, that might not be such a bad idea.
Why not?
Probably be a good idea.
Yeah. Probably just to be
Okay.
safe, warn it. I'll get back to you by, what's today, Tuesday, so by Thursday for sure, to let you know the exact time,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
All right, we'll do it that way, we'll warn it and.
That's fine.
Okay,
I'd like to be there.
that way you got all our bases covered.
Okay.
All right, I don't have any other comments, do you? Is there any, no public comments, everybody left?
Nobody on,
Whoops.
Linda.
Should we unmute her? Who is she?
She muted?
She has no choice to mute or unmute.
Oh, she has to do it, right? All right, then, we'll go up to upcoming events. Wednesday, May 3rd is a special planning commission meeting at the town office at 6:30 PM. And this is a special meeting, Brian, does it have something to do with the town plan?
Yeah,
Is it a public hearing?
it's not a public hearing.
Okay.
It's I mean, the public can come to the.
Yeah, right.
But it's, now, we're gonna, this board is gonna have a public hearing on
Yes.
the town plan.
Yeah.
This is just to make sure that it's final, ready to go and set to go.
So they're getting close to the end
Yeah,
of
oh,
it.
yeah, yeah.
All right, that's on Wednesday, May 3rd at 6:30 PM here, so that's tomorrow night. And then on Tuesday, the 16th, we're gonna have our second regular select board meeting here at the town offices, and that starts at 6 PM.
Are we expected to attend the meeting tomorrow night?
No.
No,
Oh, okay.
no, not tomorrow night. But you could go if you wanted to see what's going on with the town plan. If you, you know, get up. I've been to a couple of them, it's been pretty interesting meeting. Okay, is there anything, nothing for executive session?
Nope. Nope, we're good.
All right, we're setting a record tonight.
Yep.
Are you sure? You got something else to talk about? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, well, I'm waiting for a motion.
I move.
What, to what?
Close the meeting.
Okay, adjourn, all right, we got a second?
I'll second it.
All right, we got a second. Motion been made and second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.